Hey Disney fans, in the Disney Princess Healthy Treats Cookbook, making a healthy dessert. I always put healthy in quotation marks sometimes with these. Anyway, it's Rapunzel inspired and it's actually called Flynn Lemon Polenta Cake. So I'll show you the picture of it here. It's got the little cake here. So this is a cake that is tagged as gluten-free, vegan, and whole grain or whole wheat. So it is a little bit healthier than a traditional cake. It's basically using almond flour and medium grind polenta is like your base with other things to get this lemon flavor. Now, I always say healthy in quotation marks because it does still use refined sugar. Now, it substitutes it by using some of like swerve or allulose or monk fruit as well with part of it, but you still are using some refined sugar as well as some confectioner sugar. Anyway, here's some clips of me putting it together. Forgot to hit record. So here are my dry ingredients, which is a combination of almond flour and equal parts ground cornmeal or polenta, and it said to use a medium ground. Everything gluten-free, as well as some baking powder and some salt. So those are my dry ingredients. I whisk them all together and I put it aside. Okay, so in this bowl, I've got some regular sugar, and then I'm using allulose. It says to use a sweetener such as allulose, swerve, or monk fruit. And I'm using the allulose because I'm using other things in there. And now it says to add eggs, and it says 3 at room temperature. So I actually have 4 here that I've been sitting out for a few hours to get to room temperature. I always like to have a backup egg just in case, you know, one of them looks a little suspicious or is bad. All right, so there's 1 egg. Okay, so now I'm going to use my electric mixer here and beat these until it says they are a light color, which should take about 2 minutes. All right, it's been about 2 minutes, and that seems pretty smooth and light in color. Right, now I'm adding in some olive oil, and it says to use a light olive oil, so I have one that says light taste, so I assume that's what they mean. Now I'm going to add in the zest of 1 lemon. So now I'm taking the lemon I just zested, and I'm juicing it. Now it says you need 2 tablespoons of the juice, and it says that's about half a lemon, which it was, and there's just a little more in there. I'm just gonna pour it in because I love a good lemon flavor. So I'll gently mix this all together. It's interesting, it's making like this foamy material in my pan. All right, now it says to gently fold in the dry ingredients. So I'm just gonna kind of pour them in a little bit at a time and fold them over. All right, so here I have my spring pouring pan again. I'm going to pour the batter in. All right, so here's just ready to go in the oven. Now what it says to bake until it's golden brown and begins to pull apart from the sides, which is about 40 minutes. But it notes if it begins to brown too soon to cover it with foil. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven. I'm gonna check it when it's probably about halfway through that baking time at 20 minutes to see if it looks like it's getting a little too brown. So here it is out of the oven. I did add the foil about halfway through because it did get pretty brown. I mean, I could tell from the picture, I'll have you the picture of the recipe, that it is a brown cake to begin with, and I'm not surprised, but I didn't want it to get too brown, so I did put the foil on it, and it probably did take closer to 45 minutes for mine to bake, but anyway, it says to let it sit in the pan for at least 60 minutes before you take it out, and then we'll make the drizzle. So here I have my cake on a plate, and I'm using the back end of a fork to go ahead and poke some holes into the cake so that way when I pour the drizzle on, it can soak down in. You can see a little bit there in the top corner where a little bit of the cake stuck when coming out of the pan. In my saucepan back there, I'm making the drizzle. Now, it says to use confectioner sugar and confectioner swerve or monk fruit. I didn't realize that. I kind of messed this up the first time. But anyway, I'm just using regular confectioner sugar. So I'm going to heat that in a pan with about 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And then I'm going to stir it until it comes to a boil and then the sugar is dissolved. And off to the side, what I'm doing is I'm preparing my lemon juice. You can sort of see my shadow juicing it. There comes the lemon juice. So all of my sugar seems dissolved with the lemon juice in the pan. So now I'm going ahead and just pouring this over the drizzle. And then I'll let it sit for a little bit to kind of soak in. It does say you can top it with lemon slices like in the picture. I opted not to do that. I didn't have any extra lemons and we just would have taken them off anyway. So it'd be a great garnish and decoration, but not needed if it's just you eating it. And here's a close-up of the cake after it's been kind of sitting a little bit and the juice has absorbed in some. So it's review time and thoughts on this cake. It's really good. It's really delicious, especially if you like lemon. Now, I make a lemon cake that I make sometimes a year. It's a lemon bundt cake. So I take a bundt cake pan. I use like a lemon cake mix and some lemon pudding and mix things together and put it in it. I also make a similar drizzle. Now, the drizzle I make, I just use confectioner's sugar and lemon juice, but a little less lemon juice. I don't heat it on the stove, so it's not as like liquefied as this. It's definitely a little bit like thicker of a lemon drizzle that I put on it. This being cooked on the stove really absorbed down into the cake, especially with the holes on it. It was really good. I'd go back to the healthy part of it because like it is healthier I think than the bundt cake that I make, but it's maybe not healthy in terms of there's still some sugar in this. And obviously I missed the confectioner swerve or monk fruit that you're supposed to use and just use like regular confectioner sugar. Yeah, fine, whatever. It's still really good. My point of all this incoherent rambling is basically to say that me and my husband both really liked this. The texture that the polenta brought to it was really nice. I was nervous about the corn part of it, like being a little too cornbready, but it's not. It was actually really good and it was just really tasty and we really did enjoy it. Obviously you do need like lemon to enjoy this. So if you don't like lemon, it's probably not for you. But if you like lemon, like I do, this is definitely one. So let's get into the rankings. The first are the ingredients on a scale of 1 to 5. That's a combination of how hard are they to find and cost. I'm going to give this one like a 2, only because, you do have those like things that can be a little bit more than regular cake mixes that you have to find, like the almond flour, the medium grind polenta or cornmeal. I think I found a medium grind one at one store, but not like other stores I didn't see it at. So it could be a little bit. And again, allulose and that kind of stuff is sometimes a little bit more than regular sugar. So that's why it's up there. And I could not find the confectioner's swerve, but I didn't actually look. I didn't really pay that much attention to the recipe. So that's on me. Difficulty level, scale of 1 to 5. 1 is easy and 5 is difficult. This is like a 1.5. It really wasn't hard, honestly. You just have to put together, the dry stuff, the wet stuff, mix it together, bake it. Even the drizzle's not hard. Put it on the stove. I mean, you could maybe say it's a 2, but it really isn't that difficult. I think if you've ever made any kind of baking, this is a pretty simple, easy to follow recipe. Would I make it again on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 is never, 5 is absolutely. It's a 5. Loved it. So I make that other lemon cake. I feel like I might substitute it every so often with this instead because it is a little bit of a healthier option. And we really enjoyed it. It was really delicious.